In today's video we bring you a real-life tale that will touch your heart deeply. This is not just the story of a helpless woman. It is a cruel reality of power abuse, loyalty, and justice that took place inside the palace of the Oba of Benin Kingdom. This Oba appeared to be a kind and fair ruler in public. But inside his palace there was a dark game going on that no one could have ever imagined, because a simple innocent woman was being kept by the royal family and used day after day. They gave shelter to that woman, helped her. But behind that help there was a terrible trap. And when that woman's husband returned and learned the truth, what happened then? What did the Oba do with the woman's husband? And what happened to that woman's fate? And in the final moments, what truth was revealed? That shook the entire kingdom. To know everything, do not skip a single second of this video. Watch till the very end. Friends, at that time I was working in Benin Kingdom as a skilled wood carver. Our job was to make beautiful carvings for the homes of rich and powerful people in the kingdom. Wherever my master sent me, I used to go without question. One day I was sent to a large compound near the royal palace. The roof design of the client's home had been damaged and needed fixing with special carvings. I reached there on time. As soon as I knocked on the gate, a little girl came out. She spoke clearly in our local language. She said, "Who are you?" I told her I came to work on the roof carvings. She ran inside. After a while, a well-dressed royal guard came out. His face showed respect, kindness in his words. He took me inside the house where the work needed to be done. I started working. Fixing the roof carvings and designs would take about 2 hours. After finishing the work, he smiled and said, "Would you like to have some palm wine?" Such behavior is not commonly seen from royal guards. I nodded in agreement. Just then a woman entered the room with a tray in hand. And at that moment my body shook. That was Osayaw, my wife Osayaw, who had gone missing 3 years ago during the harvest festival. I stood up staring in disbelief. "Osayaw, it's you." The woman stood silently, clearly afraid. Then the royal guard frowned and said, "What are you doing? Please stay away from Princess Idohan's servant." But my chest began to pound. This woman is Osayaw. Her eyes, lips, way of walking, all were exactly the same. Had Osayaw really run away, or was someone keeping her as a servant in the royal household? The guard said, "Osayaw, go inside." I froze. Osayaw? No, she is Osayaw. I raised my voice and said, "This woman is my wife. How can you keep someone else's wife as a servant?" After hearing this, the guard immediately grabbed my arm. He glared and said, "Don't you dare say a single bad word about Princess Idohan's personal servant. She is only Osayaw, not your Osayaw." That person, whom he called Osayaw, stood quietly. There was a strange pain in her eyes and a deep sadness in her gaze. She said nothing and slowly left the room. I couldn't hold myself back. I shouted, "You've taken my wife. I won't let this happen." He pushed me out through the gate. I fell in front of the compound. Severe pain in my head. Everything in front of my eyes went blurry. Inside me there was a sound of breaking. I couldn't understand. Is this real or some dream in my mind? She was my wife, Osayaw. No matter how many times I told myself this couldn't be true. How could she become a servant in the royal family? Helplessly I walked back to the road. There was no strength in my legs. I sat down beside a tree. I am a man. But that day I could not hold back my emotions. I broke down and cried. 8 years ago from today, Osayaw came into my life as my wife. That night was a chapter of my life that I could never forget. The first time I saw Osayaw, it felt like I was dreaming. How could so much beauty exist in one person? It was hard to understand. I was a wood carver, a son of a poor family. Osayaw also came from a simple household. Our marriage happened through our parents' arrangement. I had never seen Osayaw before marriage. I only heard that they were so poor that they couldn't even afford wedding gifts. They couldn't offer anything other than simple clothes. My parents were not happy at all about this marriage because they wanted a bride with a bigger dowry. But when I saw Osayaw for the first time, I realized some things cannot be bought with wealth. Her beauty mesmerized me. That's why eventually even my parents agreed, just thinking the girl is very beautiful. After marriage, my love for Osayaw started growing little by little each day. But my mother could sense it, and maybe she didn't like it. My mother had a strict nature and believed that after marriage, a son forgets his mother. I used to come home after work. I wanted to spend some time with Osayaw, but my mother would call me and keep me busy with many tasks. Sometimes she would say, "After marriage, you don't even look at us anymore." I tried to explain that it wasn't like that. At night, my father would be sick, so I had to help him. And by then, Osayaw would get upset and fall asleep. In the morning, I had to rush back to work again. One day, my master said, "The great Oba of Benin is looking for skilled carvers to work in the North Kingdom. If you go there, you can earn many cowries. If you want, you can work there. You'll earn double." My parents were very happy hearing this, but Osayaw broke down. She said, "If you go, take me with you." I said, "Let me go first and find a place to stay. Then I'll bring you." But she cried and said, "You'll go and forget me making excuses. And here your parents will make me work all day. I haven't had a moment of peace. At night, without you by my side, I can't even fall asleep." I understood Osayaw's pain. But in front of me was a chance to escape poverty. My mother was stubborn, and Osayaw, an innocent wife who only wanted a little love and shelter from me. But maybe I couldn't give her that shelter properly. Actually, my mother had an old way of thinking. She believed a daughter-in-law was nothing more than a helper, and a son's entire love should only belong to his mother. She was afraid that a wife's love might take her son away from her. I explained everything to Osayaw. But caught in the situation, I couldn't say much. I had decided I would go to the North Kingdom, stand on my own feet, save some cowries, then bring Osayaw to me. That night, wiping her tears in the darkness, I hugged Osayaw and said, "I really don't know how I'll pass the days without you. Believe me, this is just for a short time. I will bring you." Osayaw had become very quiet then. In her eyes there was sadness, but also a deep love. She knew I was being forced, but her heart didn't want to accept it. I tried to explain to her, "My mother may never truly accept you. You know, the cowries I send, none of it will actually reach your hands. So before I go, I'm giving you as much as I can. I've saved it with great difficulty, but right now this is all I can do." Osayaw said nothing. But looking into her eyes, I understood. She was making me understand everything. At the moment of farewell, her gaze was filled with fear, and on the other side, love. In one glance, 1,000 unspoken words. Maybe she was saying, "If you really don't return?" But I knew I would come back. Because as much as I loved Osayaw, she loved me even more. A kind of love that wasn't just expressed in words, but in the behavior of the eyes, in silence. Then that day I set off for the North Kingdom, and I reached there properly and started focusing on my work. That's how a few days passed. Suddenly one day Osayaw called out to a traveling messenger who brought me her words. She was crying and said, "Your mother has turned my life into misery. Now she doesn't even let me eat properly. She won't even let me stay at my father's house. Today from morning till night, she made me work without rest. Take me away from here quickly, or else I'll walk into the forest and never return." Hearing this from Osayaw shocked me. I sent a message back saying, "Don't even think of doing such a thing. For the sake of the gods, don't do anything like that. Try to understand my situation. It's only been 1 month since I came here. If I go to my master now and say that I want to bring my family here, he will send me away. And you know very well how much I borrowed to come here. Don't worry. I'll send a message to my mother and ask her to let you stay at your father's house for a few days. I'll send cowries to your father's house, buy some new clothes for yourself." After hearing my message, she became quiet. She used to send me messages secretly, otherwise my mother wouldn't even let me hear news from Osayaw. When I used to send messages to my mother, I said, "Ma, I want to hear about Osayaw. Please tell me how she is." Then mother would reply, "How shameless. You're asking your mother just to know about your wife. No need. There's no need to worry about your wife every day. If you keep thinking about her all the time, then when will you work?" Mom would say all this and then send no more messages. One day I sent my mother a message and said, Ma, if possible, send Osayaw to her father's house for a few days. Mother, in a bit of an angry tone, replied, "Why is the bride suffering here? Is the in-laws' house a market now? Comes and goes whenever she wants." I slowly said, "No, Ma. It's nothing like that. She hasn't gone to her father's house in a long time. She needs a little rest." After much convincing, finally Mother agreed. I sent her the travel expense myself. Although I felt a little relieved after going to her father's house. From there, she used to send me messages almost every week. But one day, suddenly, her message sounded heavy. She said, "Kola, your mother has started beating me. I can't take it anymore. Even my health isn't good." I sat still with the message in my hand. Sitting many miles away, I couldn't wipe her tears. I could only read, but I couldn't do anything. That night, after finishing work, I sat quietly. I took Osayaw's small carved figure out of my bag and kept staring at it for a long time. Just then, my master came by. He saw the tears in my eyes and said, "What happened, Kola? Why are you upset?" With my head down, I said, "Sir, there's trouble back home. Family problem. My wife is suffering." Sir remained silent for a while, then said, "Then why don't you bring her here?" I smiled and said, "Sir, I don't have that ability. I've come here with many debts from back home. I am a man. I can somehow get through the night, but if I bring my wife, we'll need a separate home, a good place. I don't have the means to provide that now." Sir looked at me and said, "Then take some cowries as a loan from me. I'll take a little from your payment each month. At least your wife will be free from suffering." Then Sir arranged a small hut for me. He said, "Though the hut is small, it's clean and well arranged. Everything is ready and the cost is very low. You and your wife will be able to stay here very nicely." Hearing such words from Sir made my heart feel light, as if I had put down a heavy load of worry. I sent a message to my mother and said, "Ma, I've decided. I'm going to bring Osayaw to me." Mother, upon hearing this, responded angrily. "Why does she need to go there? She's doing just fine with us." I said, "Ma, I can't stay alone here anymore. Missing her is getting harder each day." At my words, Mother became angry. Just then, Father took the message from the side and said, "Don't worry, son. I will take Osayaw to the meeting point myself." Father's words brought tears to my eyes, as if in a moment all the bitterness was washed away. I told Sir everything. He too extended a helping hand very sincerely. He said, "I will arrange the journey and the payment." When everything was ready, I sent Osayaw a message with details. Her journey was through the forest path to the North Kingdom. On the day of her arrival, I reached the meeting point a bit late. While standing in front of the area, I saw all the travelers coming one by one. My heart started to tremble, but even though everyone had come, Osayaw didn't. It felt like time had stopped. All the sounds around me seemed to slowly fade away. Right then, I asked a guard, "Why hasn't my wife come yet?" They said all the travelers of that group have already arrived. It felt like the sky collapsed on my head. I called Sir and explained everything. He said, "Don't worry, I'm coming to the meeting point now." Very soon he arrived. He said, "I know an official here. We can ask through him." I sat there anxiously. After a few minutes, Sir returned and said, "Kola, your wife didn't reach the final North Kingdom point. She came only up to the forest crossing but didn't continue from there. She left the group at the crossing." Felt like I forgot how to breathe. One question kept spinning inside my head. Why did Osayaw do this? How could Osayaw make such a big mistake? I had clearly explained it to her in my message. I had made her understand very well that she must not leave the group anywhere else. She must only stop when everyone else does, because the final destination of that journey was the North Kingdom. How could Osayaw make such a big mistake? It felt like my heart was being ripped out of my body. How will I find her now? My master was a very kind man. He took me with him to the forest crossing. There he gathered all the information. There we learned that a traveler named Osayaw had gotten off at the crossing. She had gotten into a wagon and gone somewhere. Later we also came to know that the wagon she had gotten into had crashed. My master worked very hard to find the wagon and the people hurt in that crash. We then went to the healing place where they were kept. When I saw the girl lying on the bed, her face was terribly burned. Her hands and feet were burned too. The small bag found from the wagon. Upon seeing that, I broke into tears even more. That bag was full of my memories. I always cried thinking of my wife. At that time, my master was by my side. He said, Maybe this is what was meant to be. Please don't suffer anymore. There was a stranger beside your wife. That's why she left at the forest crossing, not understanding the danger. And then she fell victim to that crash. From the next day, I drowned myself in my work. After 3 years today, I saw Osayaw again. But as a royal servant, how could Osayaw do this to me? Even though she was my wife, how could she be in the royal palace? Early the next morning, I went back to that compound. As I knocked on the gate, the same guard opened it. Seeing me, his face turned serious for a moment. He said harshly, "Why have you come here again?" I calmly said, "Please listen to me once with care. I haven't come to fight." Looking him in the eyes, I said, "The woman in this house is not only my wife, she is still my lawful wife. Osayaw and I are not separated yet. According to our traditions, this is clearly wrong. A married woman who hasn't left her husband cannot serve another family, especially not as a personal servant. You can, if you wish, ask any respected elder in our community. I just sincerely want you to understand the truth. I'm only asking for the right of my wife, not to cause trouble." The guard became serious. Then he stared at me for a few seconds, then turned his face away and said, "Keep your traditions to yourself. Don't come here and make noise again. And if I see you in this area again, I'll call the royal guards." I quietly walked away from there. It felt like I had just lost someone again. Not just a wife, but an entire part of my life. In my mind, I kept thinking, did I really come too late? Everything in my life fell apart because of just one event. I knew Osayaw still loved me. So, as a final attempt, I decided to speak to her directly. I started watching the area near that compound for a few days. When did she leave? When does she return? I observed everything. One day, to my surprise, I saw my master coming out of that compound. The evening light was fading. Then, from a distance, I saw Osayaw standing near the garden talking to Princess Itohan. They were talking like they knew each other's secrets. My heart trembled. What is happening in my life? Osayaw isn't just my wife. She is the biggest treasure in my life. I couldn't keep my heart calm. The next day, late at night, I decided to see the end of everything. I silently climbed the wall and entered that house through a window. The scene inside shattered my heart. Osayaw was sitting in a corner hugging a small girl, and Princess Itohan was saying in a deep voice, "I've paid a lot of cowries for you. You'll never be free from this palace." Osayaw was crying without making a sound. Her voice was trembling. Tears were falling from her eyes. She said, "For the sake of the gods, let me go. I am his wife. I am his honor. You have kept me here for years. Fear the gods' anger." The princess angrily opened the door and left. And I didn't wait. As I pushed open the door and entered, Osayaw immediately jumped into my arms. She hugged me and started crying as if all the pain of years was pouring out of her chest. In a trembling voice, she said, "Kola, please take me away from here. I can't take it anymore." I calmed her and asked her, "How did you come here?" She revealed she was supposed to go to the North Kingdom, but after reaching the forest crossing, a well-dressed royal messenger came and said, "Kola has sent me. Don't worry." That messenger took her into a wagon, then made her drink something and made her unconscious. When she opened her eyes, she found herself in an unknown place, in a terrible prison within the royal compound. And from that day on, she was never freed again. I sat silently. Then a little girl was staring at me. There was a storm of questions on her face and in her eyes. I asked, "Whose child is this?" Osayaw lowered her head and said, "This is your child. I was carrying her even before I left for the North Kingdom. I sent you a message, but I don't know if it ever reached you." My body went numb. It felt like someone placed a stone on my chest. My child. She is a part of my own life. She never even knew her father for all these years. The next day I went to that house with the royal guards loyal to the true Oba, not Princess Itohan. Based on Osayaw's story, my master and Princess Itohan were brought before the true Oba. I learned that the princess had been stealing women from villages to serve in her private compound. The true Oba was shocked and ashamed. He ordered Princess Itohan to be removed from the royal family and sent away from the kingdom. I got my wife back. I got my child back. But there's one thing I never got back again. The peace of my life. This event left a permanent mark on my heart, one that will never heal. I thought I would earn more calories, bring happiness to my family, secure our future. But I didn't know that the price of that dream would be paid by my wife. Even today, I can't sleep at night. I keep thinking, if I hadn't left my wife back then, if I hadn't trusted strangers without checking, maybe today's nightmare wouldn't have happened. Oh gods, please protect our mothers, sisters, wives, daughters, all women. And may no one else suffer because of the wrong choices we make. Remember friends, sometimes the greatest wealth is not found in distant lands, but in the happiness of your own home. This story teaches us that greed can blind us to what truly matters. The great Oba punished his own daughter for her evil deeds, showing that justice must apply to everyone, even the royal family. And most importantly, it reminds us that we must protect and value those we love above all material things. Thank you for watching this true story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to our channel for more African folktales that teach important lessons.